It doesn't matter what subclass or class you are using, this exotic weapon will give you your super energy like there's no tomorrow. And yes, we're referring to Bad JuJu, one of the best exotic kinetic weapons in PvE. You can be a warlock with Phoenix Protocol and get your super back in seconds, a thunder crash with Cuirass of the Fallen Star and get it back within 30 seconds to a minute, with literally no intellect at all. It really doesn't matter what you are, you're getting your super back ASAP. And all you need is the JuJu that's pretty bad, or should I say, good, bad JuJu. Well, okay guys, I'm Divide. Drop a rating and subscribe because this is your Exotic Bad JuJu Weapon review for 2021 in Destiny 2 Season 13, Season of the Chosen. Stay tuned. Now in this video we are looking at the Bad JuJu, and I will section out each part so you know what I'm talking about before we get there. But of course we can't look at the weapon without knowing how to get it first, which takes us to the first part, how to get Bad JuJu in Season 13. TLDR, in case you didn't know what that means, too long didn't read, don't care, get to the point. You get Bad JuJu from the Exotic Archive and the Catalyst from playlist activities. Long version, you get the Bad JuJu from the Monument to Lost Light Exotic Archive at the tower, under the Forsaken Exotics with a cost of a Cypher, 125k Glimmer, 200 materials, and an Ascendant Shard. So yeah, quite cheap. For the Catalyst, you get it from playlist activities, so hop into the strikes and melt some bosses, or go play some sweaty Crucible. Okay, so you got Bad JuJu, now let's take a look at the weapon stats. So of course we have the exotic trait String of Curses, where kills refill the mag, increase damage for a short duration, grants super energy based on the strength of String of Curses, and fires full auto. Now we'll check that out shortly, but with its Catalyst it will increase the duration of String of Curses, and as for his weapon perks, it rolls with Hammerforged Rifling, Steady Rounds, Hip Fire Grip, and Short Action Stock. And I have to say this weapon handles really well in PvE with a good stability, and overall is just an amazing weapon that people really don't use much and kinda should. Now looking at the String of Curses perk, you get up to 5 stacks with it, and each stack you gain will increase your damage by 20%, totaling up to a maximum of plus 100% extra damage whilst the String of Curses perk is active, and this is around a 30% increase in damage after a Rampage perk, and with its Catalyst extending the trait's duration by 1 second, essentially makes it like a Rampage spec mod. So I think it's safe to say the exotic trait String of Curses is pretty much a better version of Rampage, and considering every kill will increase the stack if not already maxed, refill your mag and grant super energy, it just really makes the weapon so good for a primary. So how does Bad JuJu compare to just any legendary weapon with a Thresh perk? Well, it really factors in a lot and depends what you're competing against Bad JuJu for. Let's say we want to get our super as fast as possible and you use a weapon with Thresh. Now in case you didn't know what Thresh is, it's a perk that grants a small amount of super energy on kills. For this example, we're using a Masterwork Bottom Dollar. Now first of all, both weapons, the Bad JuJu with the Catalyst and Bottom Dollar Masterworked, will generate Orbs of Power, so that's one source of super energy. Then you have their perks. Bad JuJu has String of Curses and Bottom Dollar has Thresh, both of which will generate super energy. However, with the weapon using Thresh, you have to take in mind that you need to reload the weapon after kills, and you may not have perks like Rampage that will increase the damage, whereas Bad JuJu has all that built into one perk. As for the amount of super energy you get from Thresh, it's really not that much, and in my opinion is not worth using if you want to maximize your super regen builds, unless of course you prefer to use an exotic heavy or energy for things like boss DPS. But also at the same time you got to remember that you're using Bad JuJu primarily to get your super faster, to use as boss DPS or to support your allies. So really you could say that Bad JuJu is your boss DPS weapon because you're building that super energy. It really depends what you're trying to achieve. So let's take a look at Bad JuJu in action with some good build setups and see how it performs. Now I want to show two examples here, a support build and a boss DPS build. Let's start with the boss DPS build, but before we do I should mention that if you want to see these builds maxed out completely to deal the most DPS in the game, you can view them below, linked in the comments and description, or a card to it on screen. I have an entire playlist of builds. But here with our Thunder Crash and the Cuirass of the Fallen Star build, the way you'd use Bad JuJu for this build is to combine it with Energy Converter, as you'll get almost half of your super energy when throwing a grenade whilst charged with light, and you'll get those stacks from your pulse rifle kills. But not just that, you can use the Take in Charge mod as well, because you'll be generating a ton of orbs with those multi-kills as you'll never have to reload. Then you fill the remaining 50% with the String of Curses stacked kills from Bad JuJu and from the orbs you generate with the weapon. Now to make this even better, you can add in mods to reduce your cooldown, like using the class ability near enemies or intellect mods, although it's not really necessary. For the Warlock support build example, you'll use a Well of Radiance with Phoenix Protocol, and although you'll get super energy for kills in your well regardless, having Bad JuJu will boost that even more. And not just that, but when you reach around 80%, you no longer generate super energy from the Phoenix Protocol, so that's when your Bad JuJu comes into play and fills up the remaining energy. I'd recommend using high energy fire alongside a build like this to really make your Bad JuJu even more powerful, because having the Wells buff, the String of Curses ×5 buff, and a high energy fire buff, well, that's just going to make your weapon even more deadly. Now, Bad JuJu works with almost every build, if not all of them, and these were just 2 examples. If you want to see those builds completely maxed out, then you can view the playlist below, but now let's move on. So Bad JuJu in PvE really performs well in my opinion. It has that good stability and a reasonable amount of range, and is of course really ideal for those minor activities like strikes or gambit, or even dungeons and pinnacle missions. I feel that Bad JuJu is aimed more towards solo players and is definitely worth using in, well, any activity that you do solo where there are a lot of minor adds, as you'll be able to get your super really quick, regardless of what class you are playing. Now of course, if you think you're going to take this into a Grandmaster Nightfall, then think again. I mean, you can if you want, but you're really not going to benefit from its perk as much as you would in those minor activities, and you're just going to have a hard time killing adds rapidly to get those stacked String of Curses, and therefore making it pointless to use, because if you can't get a ×5 stack, or at least a stack, then there's really no point using it over other exotics. But if you were going into a Master Nightfall, then yeah, I'd say it's usable there, and would work much better if you could buff its damage, so perhaps use that high energy fire, or an Empowering Rift, or a Well of Radiance, as that'll give you a good boost to your DPS and make it easier to get those rapid kills. However, you're best using it in solo or easier activities, so you're not fighting for kills with your teammates, as you ideally want to get all the kills to really get that super energy a lot quicker. Now what about PvP? Well, when it comes to PvP, I'm not a god, but I do main pulse rifles in there, and I have to say Bad JuJu in PvP isn't actually that bad. It's just like any pulse rifle really, it destroys at a distance and not so much at close range. Now the stability on this thing is insane, and the fact that you have your mag refilled after a kill and triggers 1 stack of the String of Curses really puts you on that path to just end up getting kills one after another. It kind of reminds me of the Redrix's broadsword, where once you have that perk activated, you're a winner. Although with this weapon it's not always the case, and although sometimes you may be lucky, most of the time you'll probably either end up dead or you've lost the String of Curses buff by the time you can get the next kill. Which takes us to that downside that you're not really getting the full benefits of the String of Curses perk in PvP, because most of the time you may not be getting a kill right after a kill constantly. Sure, you might get 2 or 3, but it's never going to be 1 kill every 2 seconds or so you probably won't ever get the stack to ×5. So what's this weapon good and bad for? It's really good for solo players for PvE content, so your casual strike, your gambit match, your presage mission, anything simple that you go in and do alone. It's also worth noting that it's good to complete challenges, bounties, and even triumphs. So if you're still looking for super kills, throw this weapon on to get it faster. That's if you don't want to go into Shuro-Chi and waste a bunch of flags, or rally into public event flags. For the downside, Grandmaster Nightfalls, master activities whilst under level, and raids, probably a big no. You're better off sticking with a main heavy exotic for DPS like Anarchy or the Lament, because in all honesty, in GMs and harder activities where minor adds are like majors, you're probably not gonna consistently keep a buffed Bad JuJu. But overall, for the Bad JuJu in Season 13, I'm rating this weapon a 9 out of 10 for how it performs and handles in PvE content. Definitely a good weapon worth using, or at least giving it a chance. For PvP, there's probably better options. Now if you want to see this weapon destroy PvE content when combined with certain class builds, then check out my class build videos in the playlist link below, or the specific videos linked. And if you liked this one, you'll probably like some of my other videos. I'll leave a card on screen to those in the top right, so you can check them out if you want. But that's all for this one. Don't forget to drop a rating, comment your favourite exotic primary weapon, or give me your thoughts on the Bad JuJu. But for now, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video.